You know, we all have that one friendship, the one we think is absolutely unbreakable, a bond that's built on shared dreams and just, this intense loyalty. But what happens when ambition, when duty, crashes right into that bond? Today, we're diving into one of history's most powerful and honestly, heartbreaking friendships, a story that's going to force us all to ask a really tough question.
So can a friendship actually be too strong to fail? We're going to look for an answer in the lives of two guys, Basil of Caesarea and Gregory Nazianzen. Their bond was so legendary it was described as one soul in two bodies. But, as we'll see, the fallout was just as epic.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Our story kicks off in the intellectual heart of the ancient world, Athens, around the year 350. And it's here that two brilliant students meet and form a connection so intense that it literally became the stuff of legend.
Gregory himself said this about their bond. And listen, this wasn't just some casual college friendship, This was a total fusion of spirit and intellect. They really saw themselves as two halves of a single whole, brought together by a purpose they felt was way bigger than themselves.
I mean, they shared everything. Their homes, their meals, their secrets, their biggest dreams. In a place like a college town, which could be chaotic and full of temptations, they were each other's rock. Their friendship was the foundation of their entire world. But, as we know, even the strongest foundations can have cracks. And for all their unity, they were wired completely differently. They were like night and day. Basil was this unstoppable force, ambitious, decisive, a born leader who was dead set on changing the world. And then you have Gregory, a deep, contemplative soul. He was an eloquent introvert who really just wanted a quiet life to think and write. These weren't just little personality quirks. They were the seeds of a massive conflict brewing just beneath the surface. So after their amazing, almost perfect time in Athens, reality starts to set in, and the real world began to put that incredible bond to the test. As their lives started to go in different directions, the first little cracks in that foundation began to show.
Basil just dove headfirst into the high-stakes world of church politics, quickly becoming a super powerful bishop. Gregory, on the other hand, felt a totally different pull, a duty to his aging parents that kept him stuck at home. This separation, both in distance and in their careers, created a gap that, letters couldn't always bridge.
You can just feel the frustration simmering in Basil's words here. He's facing all these political attacks, and he feels completely alone. In his mind, it's simple. If Gregory were just by his side like they always planned, none of this would be happening. You can almost hear the resentment starting to creep in.
And you have to understand, Basil wasn't just dealing with some petty office politics. No, he was on the front lines of a full-blown theological war against something called the Arian heresy, a fight that was all about the very definition of Christianity. For him, this was a battle for the soul of the church itself. The stakes could not have been higher.
And this brings us to the moment where everything just shattered. A strategic political move turned into a deeply personal and what seemed to be an unforgivable betrayal. And it all went down in a tiny, insignificant town called Sasima.
So picture this. Basil is in the middle of this high-stakes political chess match. A rival bishop is trying to undermine his authority, and to win this fight, Basil needs more bishops on his side. Loyal bishops. He desperately needed more pieces on the board.
And in a moment of, let's be honest, ruthless pragmatism, Basil made his best friend a pawn. He appointed Gregory, the man who wanted nothing more than peace and quiet, as bishop of Sasima, this miserable, dusty little town. Why? For pure political advantage. And the worst part, he did it without a single word of discussion.
Gregory was, as you can imagine, absolutely horrified. He felt used. He saw this as a vulgar fight over territory and money. Suckling pigs and poultry, he called it. Not a noble battle for souls. And he was being dragged into the one kind of life he had always tried to avoid by the one person he thought understood him better than anyone.
Wow, this is just the raw cry of a betrayed friend. For Gregory, Basil had chosen principles over people, power over their personal bond. And the devastating lesson he took from it was clear. Friendship, even their friendship, means nothing when it gets in the way of ambition.
After that, there was just no going back. The warmth, the trust, that idea of one soul in two bodies, it was all gone. It was replaced by this cold bitterness and just strained formal letters. The great friendship was broken. And for a very long time, that's where it looked like the story was going to end. But the story doesn't quite end there. In the aftermath of all that heartbreak, and especially after Basil died young, the whole narrative takes this surprising turn towards a very complex and painful kind of forgiveness. In a really bitter twist of fate, history actually proved Basil's ruthless strategy correct. He died before he could see it happen, but a new emperor came to power who supported their cause. And in the ultimate irony, it was Gregory who stepped up, becoming the powerful leader in Constantinople that Basil had tried to force him to be all those years ago. He was the one who ultimately secured their final victory.
So, with the battle finally won, and with years of distance from all that pain, Gregory came back to give the eulogy for Basil, and this was it. This was his chance to give his final verdict on the man who was both his greatest friend and his deepest wound.
And right here, we see just how incredibly complex Gregory's feelings are. He doesn't pretend the pain is gone. He says flat out, time has not healed the wound. But then he tries to see it from Basil's side. He suggests that maybe, just maybe, Basil was operating on a higher level, that his duty to a cause that was bigger than their friendship actually justified his actions. He doesn't forgive the act, but he finds a way to forgive the man. And he ends his speech by talking directly to Basil, in heaven. It's just a poignant, heartbreaking conclusion. He hopes that in the afterlife, they can finally find the peace and the unity that they lost here on Earth. That the perfect friendship they once had can finally be restored, free from the world that tore it all apart.
So, that leaves us with this. Who was right? Who was the better friend? Was it Gregory, who put the personal bond above everything else? Or was it Basil, who was willing to sacrifice even his most important relationship for what he truly believed was the greater good? It's a question about friendship and duty and the real price of changing the world that feels just as relevant today as it did 1600 years ago.